Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. So today we got retail sales. Good morning, Kevin. Hold on a second. What's wrong with Spotify? Why is my Spotify not up? I closed the window. I think I just closed the window. There we go. So we got retail sales coming up. Let's see here. What are the expectations? We do. It is today, right? No, let's. Maybe I'm wrong. You rolled over, or we rolled over a couple of days ago, right? It should all say Z at the top. Yeah. Wait, I'm confused. Is it just not? Yeah, okay. We do have retail sales here. Forecast, core retail sales month over month. Forecast, spot 4, previous spot 3. And the headline retail sales were expecting a spot 2 versus a previous reading of spot 5. Oh, there we go. Financial juice is fixed, and I can see them now. Okay, cool. We'll come over here really quickly, look at the charts. We got about 5 minutes. 10-year Treasury, after that move up before trade yesterday, it went dead. There was never another leg. It's just been dead, and it's been pretty dead overnight too. There was a lot of like global headlines, and some of the other bonds, other countries had some significant moves and everything, but it's been pretty quiet. I should also note that both Cook and Moran will be there for the Federal Reserve meeting, which starts today. S&P 500 had a pretty good up move yesterday. Man, that is quite the trend. Like, that's a little bit of scary of a trend, because when we were up here, it was like, oh no, we're too high. This is overvalued. And then what? It just gets more and more scary the higher we get. Okay, oil on the upside, but still within its range. Gold had another breakout yesterday, and silver along with it. Silver looking amazing. Almost as good as the S&P 500 chart. Copper also starting to move up. So copper starting to give us signs that, like, maybe we're okay and we're moving into more solid global growth. I don't know. And then here is the Japanese yen showing a tad bit of strength, but still within its range, and the dollar dipping down to 96.5. And I think that you should expect to see the dollar continue to decline if the overall economy goes well. Okay. And the Bitcoin on a slight uptrend over the past few days. Well, let's say for the month, but nothing too significant. So that is where we're at. We have about 2-3 minutes. Oh, you're talking about the ES. Well, technically, we're not supposed to roll, or we don't have to roll until Thursday. But you might be right. Might be better volume when there's not a whole lot over there, is there? Yeah, we should roll. They're rolling early then. That's Interesting. I would have thought that because there's a Federal Reserve meeting tomorrow, that they would be rolling more slowly than usual. So that's kind of weird. Yeah, whatever. Was doing some stuff with trading platform last night, and I'm trying an example in the eGUI ecosystem, and it was like everything just kind of fit. They already had like a component for all of the things. Now I still have to put the pieces together, but it's like it's all there. And okay, so we moved down a little bit, and it's higher than forecast. It's 0.6. Let's see here. Core retail sales spot 7 versus spot 4. And the headline spot 6 versus spot 2. Huh. That's I'm having a hard time explaining that one. That very strongly contradicts my own understanding of where we're at in the economy. That we grew spot 6 month over month. Because everything that I've been seeing has been that like the economy is not looking very good. But it's like the economy is really, really terrible for a certain group of people, particularly those that are out of work. And that group is much larger than we ever expected. But the people that do have money are just spending like crazy. But like, why would it be that time? I wonder if it has anything to do with seasonal adjustments. The market did not move that far either on the news. Jobs looks bad, but everyone has access to infinite debt. You know, that's probably a really good theory, Uzi. Because people reduced their debt so much during the pandemic that most people feel okay taking on debt right now. Yes. And when you look at like debt as a percentage of household income, it's pretty mild, historically speaking. So people have a lot of room to take on debt. And that may well be why the economy has seemed so resilient. But just yesterday, I was seeing these reports from economists and stuff saying, you know, that the economy is finally starting to tumble, that the percentage chance of a recession is super, super high, and all of these sorts of things. And then you're telling me retail sales is spot 6% month over month? What? It's so crazy. But I'm a little weary about making too much of that because the Treasury market didn't move that much. Well, maybe the Treasury market's not moving that much because they think that the Federal Reserve meeting is already in stone. But they could also be that maybe when you dig into the numbers, it actually doesn't look as good as it seems. you know? There's always a little nuance to be read into it. Maybe before the end of the stream, we'll have a really good synopsis from Zero Hedge. Wow, Trump slaps New York Times with a $15 billion defamation lawsuit? What? $15 billion? Okay. All right, well, I didn't eat breakfast because it was too hot. So it's cool now. Let's eat breakfast and see what goes on. Then we can chat about what do you guys want to chat about today? I don't know. But, well, hold on. They came back down. Maybe we will get a big move. I don't know. I'm kind of, well, we'll see. Oh, by the way, we should turn the robot on now at this point. It would be a good time to turn the robot on. Yeah, I'm worried that it could go dead, but now it's moving. So maybe we actually got some. Okay, so Uzi's telling me that '08 is the first target for Xian. Tell me, what was the overall number? Was the overall number smaller than usual today? Yeah, the IV number. You got your supercomputer last week? So here's my idea, Brad. I have to put the like, what do you call them? It was lower than last night by spot 3, but overall, no, it's about typical. Okay, interesting. You know, I'm not trying to make a light of a serious situation or to be cynical about making money or anything, but I do think that this would be like a profitable money-making opportunity. Is Charlie Kirk GPT? Somebody's going to do it. You know somebody's going to do it, right? You have the supercomputer. It could be you. All you got to do is go onto YouTube, and you can like pull transcripts from videos, right? So just go to the YouTube API and pull the transcript from every Charlie Kirk video he's ever made, and then pass it into an LLM. Do a little bit of training, then make a website, put it up. I guarantee you it would be popular right now. Charlie Kirk speaking from the grave. Somebody, if I die, especially if I die in some sort of spectacular fashion that makes me famous or something, which I would prefer to not die, okay? But if it happens, please make speculator Seth GPT, okay? The world needs to know that markets are a necessary component of a prosperous society. The NVIDIA, what is the NVIDIA Thor Dev Kit? NVIDIA Thor Dev Kit. Advanced AI for physical robotics. Oh no, yeah, I saw this thing. Yeah. See, Brad's absolutely. Yeah, it's totally. It's not just like a realistic thing. It would be an easy thing to do, wouldn't it? You just need the resources. And could you do it online? I think that making a custom GPT through OpenAI, that their context and the amount of data that they let you upload isn't enough. But if you have your own a really, really big data processing thing, and 2070 teraflops and 128 gigabytes of memory would absolutely get the job done. That would absolutely get the job done. Because you're not worrying about, like, it needs deep thinking and the logic models and things like that. You could probably get away with a kind of a consolidated model even. Like, you could probably run Charlie Kirk GPT on your desktop computer too, but having 128 gigabytes of memory would probably help you if you were going to, like, run it as a service, right? You would probably make money with it. Even if it was just like the advertising at the bottom, you know? So go do that, become a millionaire, and then, you know, come help us out after you've become a millionaire. This should be an interesting spot to watch, because basically, from my numbers, market makers are probably under pressure right now, but it looks like options sellers are not. And the 10-year is right at it. Well, by the way, was there any change in the spread? Because this could maybe steepen things. Not really. Not really a change in the spread. Maybe in the 530, but just a little bit. How to find that? The options level. So if you go to barcharts.com, you can go and look at their options, and it will tell you the implied volatility, and then you take that number and you run percentages. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, I know what we got to do. Somebody asked me this question about the spread chart that is on the NinjaTrader ecosystem, and theirs was giving a slightly different number from mine and had a weird flag that I didn't understand what it did. So we need to go download that, install it, and see what it's doing so that we can see how to get our thing. Because he was saying, like, they look the same, but the number that they give is different, and the number that they were giving would show their P&L. Like, you could look at the amount that changed, and then that would be your P&L. And I don't know what about it was doing that. I think it could be that they're timesing it by the contract size. So, like, they're timesing it by 10 first or something. I know. We'll see. We should download that and look at that when I'm done eating here. I want a robotic hand so we can make pizza dough. Have you seen those things though, where, like, the 3-axis arms, and they've got it now where you can just do a thing and then it will copy it, and it's bringing automation that was previously really only available in like a car factory, available to like everybody, and it's crazy. I really think there's going to be, I think that artificial intelligence is going to slow down, and then there's going to be a huge revolution in robotic technology. I mean, the market's already kind of playing that one, right? So oh, about market maker. What I mean by that, Amir, is that we were below the dotted line in my inventory cost basis. We've actually come back above it, but it was saying we were one tick off from the options level, but we were pretty solidly underneath of the inventory cost basis. And so it was going to be interesting to watch how it would go. At the moment, we are getting a buying flow coming through here. So we'll see what it does. I'm browsing through Reddit here, and I just saw something crazy. Watch this. It happens very quickly. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, watch. This robot gets knocked over and jumps right back up. Okay, he's gonna trip. He trips right back up. Oh my gosh. That is terrifying. The title of the post is, okay, we should start worrying. That's crazy. It really is like a couple more months and it's going to be like the Jetsons, right? We're going to have flying cars and robot maids. Here's the thing, though. There was still a market in the Jetsons. There was. Yeah, that Uzi says 0.01% of people will have them. You won't, lol. No, you're forgetting, Uzi, that we all have the ability to take on a lot of debt And, you know, the robot, it'll pay for itself. It'll pay for itself. You can go and have it start doing chores all day. There you go. You want a business robot idea? Robot. Oh my God. Dude, that is a great idea. Insure your mechanical slaves. I don't think that is an idea that I have the expertise to pull off well, but there is somebody out there that's going to make a ton of money on robot insurance. That's so crazy. Well, maybe I could. I mean, I do know a lot about an insurance exchange. Setting up something like that, maybe we could do it. With the right funding, we could get it done. But I think that would also be too early, right? Yeah. Collect premiums, invest in government and corporate debt, deny and I don't know, man. Like, you look at the health insurance companies and how much everybody hates the health insurance companies. And then you're going to go and you're going to do the same thing for robots and be the company that all of the robots hate because you're denying the robots' claims. I don't think I want to be that person. No, thank you. No, thank you. There you go, Apple. I need to be investing with you. I think something that could happen. I was thinking about this morning. Hold on. This is probably going to be a little bit too long of a dissertation. Let me see. How are you? We're doing okay. The job is okay. We still have not extended it. I don't know if they're going to. I told them, you're still 15K under. And they're like, okay, well, we'll have to talk to some people and we'll see what we can do. And I haven't heard anything for a week. So I don't think that that's a good sign. I think that that's like they're kind of looking around and they're kind of like, oh, you know, after a few weeks, they're going to realize actually that's really is, we got to do that. And then maybe they'll come back. But I am 100% prepared to just walk away if I have to. But I'm getting a lot done and I'm really enjoying it. So that's good, right? And are you trading your account or prop firms? I'm just trading my account, although most of the time I'm putting sim orders out there still. I still don't really feel comfortable putting live orders. You know, it's not really, I don't feel like this has been the best market conditions for me overall. Even though I think that the sim trades have been pretty good. It's just, I kind of hard to understand what is really going on in the economy right now. Okay. Anyways, the thing that I was going to say about the idea about being a robot insurance is I think that something that will happen is that there will be really large, wild swings in certain industries. Like, I think that there will probably be some cases where certain industries or parts of the job market do get just completely decimated by AI. I think that what has happened in software engineering was really more people trying to get ahead of it, that the AIs are actually not as efficient as companies think. They actually require a lot of expertise to integrate into your workflows effectively, and that using AI is like a very high level skill that people will be going to school for at some point. And so it may not actually end up in the company's favors with that one, is that they're going to be like, wow, we get so much productivity increase from this, but we have to hire even more skilled people, and there's not enough of them. And I think that you will eventually move back into a space where there's not enough software engineers. Okay. That was people cutting back on hiring, both because they thought AI can do everything when it really can't, and because low interest rates, right? But there could be some industries that just get completely automated. So like the movie Her, man, I tell you what, every day that I think about this, I'm like, wow, that movie was really so prescient. But they were speaking to experts in the space, like they knew the way that it was going to go. It was very well thought out, right? And his whole job was that they write thank you cards. Well, we are already to the point where I think that you could automate his job in the movie Her, right? I think there are a lot of lawyers out there, or what do we call them, paralegals, where the primary thing that they're doing is, writing up the same document over every time and just making slight little changes to adjust to that particular situation. And those guys, a lot of those guys are going to be out of a job. There's going to be one guy that automates it all with AI and will be cheaper but can do more. And then other people won't be able to compete with that anymore. There'll be some paralegals where it's just like you use the law. I think that you would need a custom GPT for that, and one that's trained a little bit differently so that it absolutely doesn't hallucinate. But for research, a GPT is going to be better for research. May already be to the point where it'd be better for research, right? So there are some industries that are going to get just absolutely decimated, and other industries that will completely pop up from nowhere. Like prompt engineering is a thing that's starting to grow. And I think that at some point that one of the things that might happen is you will see more people essentially investing for a living. So I think that there will need to be some pretty major changes to some of our laws to allow for this sort of thing to happen. But like right now, if I want to do like a startup, right, I have to get together with a couple of other guys, make a company, write up some documents about it, build a product, and really get something good out the door before I can expect anybody like venture capital people to pay for it. And it's like this very slim group of people that were, all came from Y Combinator or whatever, made big money at other startups. They're turning around and investing. And so like who matters a lot, things like that. And so it's, if I wanted to start a startup, I would need, I have a couple of major pieces missing in order to do a startup, right? But if you've got a whole industry of people out of work, and what are they going to do for work? They're going to have to make their own jobs up, and they're going to have to do a startup. And so the need will arise to be able to raise money more quickly. a larger number of companies and to be able to raise money from a larger number of people. At which point you get to this thing where you'll have this group of people that all they'll do all day is read about and invest in startup companies. And these startup companies will, explode one day. And it will be like an every other day sort of a thing. And so it could absolutely be something that like somebody could live off of. And then at the same time, like the cost of everything is dropping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that in the near future, there will be wild swings. There will be wild swings in the economy, just like what we've seen, like with the PPI, right? 1 month it was like way, way above what we were expecting, and then the next month it's way, way below what we were expecting, and you're getting this sinusoidal sort of, it's kind of slowly getting to where it's going to be, right? Which means that there is going to be both great creation in wealth and great destruction in wealth. And there will be people who will be just absolutely devastated right now, and life is really, really hard. And maybe next year they're living like millionaires. Like I think we're going into a world like that where things can change that quickly for you. And I think in the end that it will be a good thing for everybody. But in the meantime, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a wild ride. Because again, what I see happening is artificial intelligence and large language model development is going to stall. Like it already is stalling. You're still going to see improvements. I think that they may be on the pathway to reducing, if not eliminating, hallucinations. So that would be a pretty big jump in the right direction. I think you still get some problems when you're trying to do agentic stuff, though, right? So I don't think that it's going to get to the place where you can just tell the LLM, oh, build this software and then let it go for a week, and then it'll have the software all ready for you. I don't think so. I think that it's going to turn into their companions, that everybody in software engineering is using them. You're constantly talking to an AI all day, but you still need the software engineers to kind of help set like what's going on, break things up into small tasks. Because this is kind of the issue, is that like the bigger of a thing that you try to do, the more likely they are to make mistakes along the way, and they drift from what you intended. So it's much better, instead of saying, build me a trading application, you say, okay, we're going to build a trading application. Let's start by doing this with this framework and this with this framework, and going feature by feature, step by step, just like you would as a human. You make a bunch of tickets and you tackle those one at a time, right? And the AIs aren't very good at that, especially if it's some use case that's never happened before. Or it's like deep systems programming. That's another one. So it will be, I think you're going to need more software engineers. So you're going to need more knowledgeable software engineers. That's the other crazy thing, is that like these LLMs are really, really good at writing like JavaScript. So like if your job before was just maintaining this little website, that job could be in the crosshairs. But if you're like programming operating systems, robots ain't doing that very well. You say no trades for me because it's a triple witching Friday. Yeah, well, there's just the way that the Federal Reserve meeting is set up and everything is kind of not very advantageous for any trades today, is it? I mean, yesterday, I don't know why we had that move up yesterday. I mean, there was some catalysts and everything, but it still kind of seemed out of place, didn't it? The way that this is going today, like I think that retail sales was spectacular. S&P 500 barely reacted to it. And the treasuries, you can definitely see where it reacted, but wasn't nearly as big as you would expect. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's come over here and check. What are we? Only 7 o'clock. Hey, that's good. Okay. Brace yourself for a big beat is the message from Bank of America's almost omniscient analysis ahead of this morning's retail sales print for August, with the GDP driving control group expected to be particularly hot. And once again, they nailed it with the headline retail sales rising spot 6, the third strong monthly rise in a row, leading to a 0.5% year-over-year rise. Core retail sales growth year-over-year is also surging. Online sales dominated the upside month over month, along with motor vehicles and clothing. Furniture and department store sales saw the biggest month-over-month decline. Interesting. Finally, as a reminder, retail sales data is nominal, so roughly adjusting for CPI, we see retail sales up 2.1% year-over-year. Oh. Not exactly a picture of a struggling consumer dealing with hyperinflationary Trump tariffs, is it? Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I didn't think of it from that perspective. You know, I thought of it from like, well, we think that maybe the economy is kind of on the rocks, and it's not. But they're thinking of it as like, well, are people having a really hard time dealing with tariffs? Apparently, the answer is no. But then that also kind of begs the question, if consumers are doing okay and we're actually seeing a lot of consumer growth, then why are companies not passing the tariffs on? I don't know. There's lots of things about this retail sales that I feel were really, it really complicates things, right? So figuring out what's really going on in the economy, it's just got a lot more complicated. Okay, now next thing, so we need to go and look at that spread indicator. Where's the user app share? Let me find the email, because what was the property that they had?
Order canceled.
Use multiplier. Okay, so it's this one. But I tell you what, there's a lot more spread indicators on the ecosystem compared to when I last looked. Nothing that comes close to having as many features as mine, but there's competition. Okay. Oh, wait, there it is. I was looking for the text. I'm like, I know there's a pop-up somewhere. Where is it? It was on this screen over here. Oracle to keep TikTok cloud deal under new agreement. Oh, wow. That's gonna boost Oracle, isn't it? Okay, it says that it's just under the default. Yes. Master instrument dot point value. Okay. So we can do that. So what is the point value for those? Point value is 50. Oh, wait, what about MES? Point value of 5. That's what I thought. I was like, nah, it can't be 5, can it? But I was correct. What about mini NQ?
Order canceled.
Mini NQ. 2. And then in my indicator, cancel that. Close that. Minimize that. And was he doing MES or was he doing ES? No, he was using minis. I'm hearing a lot about TikTok here because Donald Trump's talking about it. Pretty strong uptick, says Octavius. Is that in the treasuries that you're talking about? Because I mean, I saw that too, but we are still just like at the open price, so hesitant to make too much of it. Let's see how they deal with the 14. Oh boy. These are robots in Discord. Okay, let's see. What's APOL saying?
Order submitted. Order
AI
submitted.
angers me a bit. So you know how in certain industries things cost 10 times more just for their brand logo, for example. Epoxy resin is 1 gallon is $60. ART brand epoxy resin is $600. Wow. But AI will defend those products, saying there must be reasons and chemicals making it better and such, with absolutely no difference. It defends brand manipulation of pricing like that. Yeah. You know, now it's interesting that it does that, because I actually would not have expected it to do that. I mean, I bet we can get it to do that with the right context. Right? What has Discord said about that? Let's call him the suspect, because I don't think that the algorithms like the word shooter or assassination. Let's just say suspect. Do you think Discord is lying about the Charlie Kirk suspect? What did they say? Is there something new that I missed? I did see this thing that was saying that Discord denied he was using it or something like that, which was like, I think that they were making a quibble about something hyper. Yeah, you are talking about that. Let me find that, and I can explain that actually. While investigators say that Robinson was communicating on Discord, Discord says that never happened, and there's no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on Discord. The messages referenced in the recent reporting about planning details do not appear to be Discord messages, the company said, adding these were communications between the suspect's roommate and a friend after the shooting, where the roommate was recounting the contents of a note the suspect had left elsewhere. We have removed the suspect's account for violating our off-platform behavior policy. So basically, Discord is saying he did use their platform, but that particular message where it seems like he's asking him to go and retrieve the rifle or something like that, that those particular messages were not on Discord. So you see what they're doing. They're kind of saying something that is true, but they're not giving you the full context of where and why they're saying that, so that it appears that it's like, oh, Discord had absolutely nothing to do with this. People will read the context wrong, right? And Stefa, good morning. Looks like my algorithm's not doing so hot this morning. It's down like, what, 3 ticks on this one? And it lost on the other ones too. So a little too sensitive in this situation. I think we need to find a way to use machine learning to like adjust the threshold. But yeah, I adjusted the lighting on the camera today and I thought it would look just fine. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, nope, it's too dark. Okay, what do you think about a TPO chart with a DOM instead of a volume profile? It's probably not going to make a huge difference. So this is where it gets really kind of weird because there are definitely some strange statistical behaviors with a volume profile, right? And you tend to see the exact same thing with a TPO. So like, what's the difference between them? It's unclear. One thing that a TPO chart might do for you that a volume profile chart might not is that, especially in the S&P 500, a very, very large portion of the volume occurs on the opening auction and the closing auction. And so the point of control on the volume profile is usually just equal to the closing price of the S&P 500. And so, at least from a theoretical perspective, all of the things that people are supposedly looking for with a volume profile kind of don't really make sense or get screwed up with that, right? You might as well just run all your stats off of the closing price. This doesn't make any sense. And we know that closing prices are manipulated too, right? So like, whatever, right? But TPO is a little bit different because in TPO, if that closing price was only ever touched in that closing auction, then you're only going to see one TPO in that spot, and the point of control of the TPO chart is going to be somewhere else. It's going to be where it spent the most time. So from that perspective, especially the sorts of things that we're looking for, like where are these areas where there was like low latent liquidity and we kind of got stuck for a while, the TPO would show that better. But either way, I have yet to see any kind of rigorous statistical evidence that using TPO or volume profile helps a trade, right? Like it's one thing to say there is a statistical aberration here. We shouldn't expect the volume profile to follow a normal distribution. We should expect it to just be disorganized and random. And it's not. And why is that? And we can go into why that is. But that doesn't necessarily lead to a profitable trading strategy. And I've never seen anybody show how that leads to a statistically profitable trading strategy. I will implement it for my DOM. You can look at them both. It would be a very good, yeah. Would be. That's something I'm actually, isn't that maybe in the new version of Ninja, or sorry, the new version of Day Trader? It might be something that eventually, I think for the platform that I want to make, that a DOM would probably be like the last thing that I would ever add. And I would continue to use Jigsaw. But at some point I implement that, and maybe I would add that, yeah. What are they talking about?
Order can The only setup I've found is taking the bounce of the weekly profiles. Yeah, well, and that right away kind of has me going, well, we probably wouldn't be able to get enough samples with that setup. It's only a weekly profile, and how often are you touching the last week's VPOC? Does look like, by the way, that the treasuries were able to get over that 14.5, so maybe we continue further up. Maybe at least to 16. I'd also say that it was able to do so on not really any meaningful change in cumulative delta. So that may actually result in a little bit of a stop run here. Let's see. There's an ETF on Thursday for Dogecoin. Ugh. I'm not a fan of Dogecoin. It's kind of crazy that it maintains its hasn't completely lost its value. Where is it at? Let's pull it up at least. It will be interesting to look at a chart. Let's go to coin. Oh, I haven't been there in such a long time. Hmm. 0.26 actually. That's not bad actually. Well, I'd be worried that it's already kind of played out, you know? Because like what we saw with Bitcoin, when Bitcoin went, was there was a lot of buying going into the ETF coming out, and then the action was really quite lackluster afterwards. You know, at Bitcoin kind of hung around for a really long time. Something's weird's going on in Discord, and I kind of am. These guys are suspect. They're like saying, "Oh, this guy, he invited us. We paid him, and then he invited us here." And how many is there? 1, 2. Anyways, they're all saying that they paid this guy, and then he invited them here. I was like, why would they? This is a free Discord server. Why would they do that? Been scammed. There's way too much of that going on in the trading space. I'm interested, tomorrow. So something I should say before tomorrow. Well, we can say it tomorrow because we still have the morning. I won't be here to be able to stream. If there are dissenters, they'd make a 25 basis point cut, and there's dissenters, that's gonna get wild. That's gonna get wild. Like if Cook dissents, then it's going to be like, okay. Which mark? Which were you talking about? These guys in Discord, they're talking about crypto stuff. But I don't know what effect a dissenter tomorrow would have on the markets. But politically, it would be pretty explosive, right? If AI is so successful as proxied by the stock prices of AI companies, then why isn't demand for electricity from utilities soaring? Because they're all using OpenAI? What is that? No, dissenter. DISSENTER. Meaning the Federal Reserve votes to have a 25 basis point cut, but some members of the Federal Reserve dissent and say, no, we shouldn't have cut rates. They weren't the majority, but they still want their opinion to be heard. And so they dissent. Last month, there was dissenters. They said no cut. And there were 2 members that said, we think that there should have been a cut. Wow, the Treasuries are going way further. When I said, well, they're breaking out of this, I think that they could go a little bit, at least until 16. But when you look at it up to 16, it actually looks really, really impressive on the chart. And I think I kind of underestimated that. Anyways, yeah, dissenter. So basically, because the market very much feels that everything suggests that they should cut rates. But Donald Trump thinks that the Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates artificially high to hurt him. So if the Federal Reserve ended up cutting rates, but some of the liberal members of the Federal Reserve said that we shouldn't have, then that would be pretty politically explosive, especially if it was Cook. who Donald Trump was trying to remove from the board by claiming that she committed mortgage fraud. Some documents obtained by media outlets, which aren't the final documents, but are some documents, suggest that that was not true. I wouldn't say that that's the final word on it, but it's not looking good for Donald Trump's accusations against Cook right now. I mean, in my opinion, if she really did commit mortgage fraud, then she should be fired for cause. In my opinion, I totally agree with that. I think that if she did it, that the court should say, yeah, it's okay to fire her for cause because she did something, and even if it was before she was on the board, that affects her ability to do the job. What is the word? You know, like that the public can trust her, right? Kind of hits at the heart of trust with her because she's controlling interest rates and meanwhile going and profiting and making money off of. Okay, but the documents that we have so far says that she didn't do that. I've seen some comments that suggest that the documents that the media outlets obtained are not the final documents that are actually used, and so it could have changed and could actually still be mortgage fraud. But it's not a good sign for the accusations, and it certainly is having the intended impact, which is, the allegations are false. Now, Plute, he's said that she did it. She was the one that accused her. If that accusation is false, then Plute is in the hot seat, right? And I'm not necessarily a fan of that guy either. Maybe Plute should resign. Now I think what will happen though is I think that this will go to the Supreme Court. I think that they will subpoena the actual documents and see whether she did it or not, right? And then we'll know for sure. But if it's proven that she did it, and I have to say, it really seems like it would be a silly thing for him to make that up. But I can totally see him going, somebody told me this, and then just running with it and not verifying it, right? Totally seems like him to me. Because, if you'd asked me, or I was saying a week ago, I think that the chances are that she did do it. Hey, Treasury did calm down a little bit here. Interesting, 17.5 has kind of been a key spot as of late, so kind of interesting that it's stuck there. With this whole Charlie Kirk thing and everything going on, it's really had me thinking a lot about what really is my role here in the world. Because it makes you want to do something, but I really don't think that my place is to become a primarily a political commentator. I really think that I know a lot about markets and that I should be teaching people about that. But then it kind of turns into this thing that's so you're supposed to go out there and say something that's so spectacular that everybody starts paying attention to it and then finally understands what we know about markets. That the markets are very flawed and inefficient, but also necessary. I'm probably never going to be the guy that says something so amazing that it just captures everybody's attention. I think I should have more attention than I get, but I'm never going to be like a Charlie Kirk person, right? I could make an amazing trading platform. Maybe I should just focus on that. So then when things like Cook coming up, or of them trying to get rid of Cook, like, how should I approach that? Because on one hand, I think that it was, or I thought that it was likely that she did commit mortgage fraud. And I do think that if she committed mortgage fraud, that she should be taken off the Federal Reserve Board, or that he's allowed to fire her, let's say. But at the same time, I don't really think it's something that I should be focusing too much, right? I kind of think that there's all sorts of crazy things that are going to happen, and that we are just spectators, and that I should resist the temptation to get more involved in it than I should. Because it kind of bothers me about some creators in the financial space, is them getting up really strongly about this issue. Like, wow, I think that she should be removed for cause if she committed mortgage fraud.
Order canceled.
But if that happened, they're going to prove it out and the courts are sorted out. So why do I need to say anything, you know? You could say something so horrible it captures everyone. Yeah. You know, something that really irks me about this situation is how they're saying that Charlie Kirk was just an absolutely awful person. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anybody that's been on the internet commentating, especially as much as Charlie Kirk, is going to eventually say something that they probably shouldn't have said. I think that the one that I really think, I don't think that he should have said that, was when he was arguing against Miss Rachel promoting LGBT stuff by quoting a scripture about stoning gay people. Because I really don't think that Charlie Kirk thinks that gay people should be stoned. And in fact, he's said many things in the past really eviscerating super far right people. You know, basically he thinks that, well, gay is a sin. That doesn't mean that we treat people, we discriminate people, or you know, be mean to people, right? And that's kind of my position too, is they're people, they deserve the same respect as everybody else. Doesn't matter what they're, you know, if I agree or disagree with what they're doing with their life. And, you know, I think that that's his position in the whole stoning gays things, was probably, you know, just like, you know, saying the thing that would be crazy and capture people's attention, you know? And he was trying to make a point about misquoting scripture too, so that's the other part. But, you know, that was probably the worst one. Overall, he was a very, very calm, like, he was very respectful. He wanted to have discussion, you know? And so it really bothers me when I see people coming out and being like, oh, he was such an awful person spreading hate. Like, I think you guys have shifted, like, what is actually spreading hate, you know, like, way too far. Because certainly there has to be a spot. Like, I don't think political violence is ever okay. But there is a point at which I say that this person speaking in public is causing harm, let's say, right? Or doing more harm than good. And, like, where is that level? Where is that level where we as a society should speak out against, you know, what a particular person is saying or doing? And I think that the left has tried to move this Overton window over so that it's basically like, if you say anything that's not super left wing, then you should be canceled, right? It's just terrible. Meanwhile, we got these people on the left that are saying just some of the most absolutely awful things, like celebrating assassinations and saying conservatives should be afraid, and you know, outright asking why haven't so-and-so been killed and things like that. Like, just terrible. I can't believe that any platform would allow these people to speak. I don't even want to talk about names or specifics, because that's just like giving them a platform and elevating them, right? These people should be forgotten about. And people are still giving them a platform. What's with that? Bothers me so much. I think the thing that bothers me the most about this situation, and this kind of segues into this, is that what we should be doing is we should be saying, wow, this was a terrible thing. We have a real problem here. This is bad for the country, and we need to do something about it. And instead of thinking and saying, well, maybe we have allowed certain places of the left to really turn into practically radicalization chambers, and we've allowed this to go on mainstream platforms and exposed our children to it, and this is a bad thing, and we should change that. Instead of like taking some responsibility and having some self-reflection, Democrats are spending all of their time on what is essentially now a conspiracy theory that the shooter was actually right-wing. And I tell you what, you might think, well, Democrats are going to Democrat. But what's really happening is the entire floor has shifted, and Democrats are still playing for points. Which means that people are just going to completely leave the Democrat Party behind. We are possibly moving into an era similar to post 9/11, where Republicans have almost complete carte blanche to do whatever they want. And they're probably going to come in and take it too far. Like, I think something needs to be done. I really think something needs to be done. But I also think that a Republican Party will probably be overzealous and take it too far. And when that happens, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to be like, whatever. You dug this grave yourself, folks. Like, you had the opportunity to come out and say, oh, this is bad. You had the opportunity to, like, make a shift in your party's strategy and all of that. And you didn't. And we warned you that this would happen. And you ignored it. I just can't care anymore. You know? Maybe that's a horrible thing to say. Of course, I got to be very, very clear. I think that political violence is absolutely unacceptable in all circumstances. I think that violating people's constitutional rights is unacceptable in all circumstances. But it's going to happen, and nobody's going to care. And, going back to A. Paul's comments, you say something so horrible it captures everyone's attention. Like, that's the thing, is that the reason our society is successful is because we have markets, and markets force us to face the realities, right? I saw this post the other day. They're like, well, if you choose to, while we can't just give everybody food because they wouldn't deserve it, that's just inhumane. Well, no, it's not about that. The problem is that, like, making food is actually, there's a lot involved in that. You have to have farm equipment. You have to have fertilizer. You have to have the seeds. You have to have labor. There's all of these things that go into making food, right? And which foods you make. How should you plant this crop or should you plant that crop? And how do you make all of those decisions? And how do you know how much people want this thing versus that thing? How do you deal with when there's not enough fertilizer to go around, who's going to get it, and things like that? And that's why you have to have a market. Because in communism, when something like this happened, they go, oh, the harvest does not look very good. Instead of that being priced into the markets and the price of that good going up and responding to supply and demand, the people in the know would just go out and buy that thing. And then there wouldn't be any of it left. And then there was just constant shortages of everything because they didn't have a market, right? Market forces us to face the reality. And the internet does not run on a market. The marketplace of ideas is not a real market. And so people can just say the absolute most awful, crazy stuff. And they're rewarded for it. Say something so horrible it captures everyone's attention. And yet after we just saw where that road leads, we still have people out there trying to say the most awful, eye-catching thing they can. So frustrating, man. So frustrating. Because you want to say, well, why people should be smarter than that. But then at what point do you have to admit that maybe that's just the nature of thing and that it's always going to be like that? And that I'm foolish to expect more of people. So, I don't know if I said anything horrible or captured anybody's attention there, but that's how I feel about it at the moment. Well, anyways, I kind of feel like down after saying that, but you know what? I think that there's still things to be optimistic about, right? We'll see where it goes. But it's just interesting to think about, like, what should we be doing now? Oh, what should I change? I'm not sure. Well, the Treasury's not done. I really kind of don't want to leave, but it is time for me to get going, guys. So, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Federal Reserve morning. I won't be there for the Federal Reserve meeting, but in the morning. Tomorrow could be a really explosive Federal Reserve meeting, so see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.